couple of requests lately to do scones. I think way back in the mist of time there somewhere I have a scones video. It was when I was trying out a little very inexpensive solar oven that I bought. But anyway, that's a long time ago and that video hasn't been viewed by very many people, so I decided I would make scones. This is the end product. The video that follows will show you how I did this, and there's a link below the video, as usual, to the recipe. This is an authentic English scone recipe, so the measurements are in weights rather than cups and spoonfuls and all that good stuff. And I have put currants in them, a little bit of butter, and some of my homemade black currant jam. Give this a try. Yeah. I like them very much, obviously, I guess. Hope you will. Talking a mouthful. I've made these 2 or 3 times before, and they always turn out quite well. Go down quite nicely with a cup of tea. This morning's tea is Irish Breakfast Tea by Twinings. So let's have a look at the process of baking these scones. Before we get started, we'll go over the ingredients here, I guess. It's a true English recipe or European recipe. What I like about it is it has measures in weights, not cups and teaspoons and all that good stuff. So much easier to make what they actually think you should be able to make with it if you weigh accurately rather than measure with cups that can be more or less compacted and you get different amounts. So anyway, let's go over what we have here. It starts with preheating your oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 220 degrees Celsius if you have an oven that does it in Celsius. And the first ingredient is self-rising flour, 225 grams, which is 8 ounces. I'm showing the brand that I use because I don't know if there's any other brand that's available, at least not in this end of Canada. It's the only one I've ever been able to find, and it's in most supermarkets here in Canada, is Brody. If you don't have self-rising flour and don't know where you might get some, just Google self-rising flour recipe on Google and it will show you how to make your own. It's basically a blend of flour, baking soda and salt, already pre-mixed. And the next item is good old sugar. 30 grams of what they call in caster sugar, we would call just ordinary white sugar. Butter is 55 grams of butter, which is 2 ounces of butter, cold and cut into little cubes. Milk, 150 milliliters of milk. And what is that? That's 3/4 of a cup, I guess, a little less than 3/4 of a cup. And their recipe doesn't have currants, but I like currants in my scones. So that's 2 ounces or 55 grams of currants. The interesting thing about currants that I discovered not too long ago, I often wondered what they are. I mean, there are white currants or red currants or black currants. My favorite is black currants, and I just wondered which one that they used to dry and make these. Well, it turns out dried currants aren't currants at all. It's a special kind of grape, a small seedless grape that is dried, and when they dry it, they call it currants for some reason. We'll get started with the recipe here. What I forgot to mention also is that the recipe says let me see if I can find it here, a half teaspoon of salt, but I'm using salted butter, and there's already some salt in the Brody mix, so I'm not adding any additional salt. But if you were using unsalted butter, you should probably add a half teaspoon of salt. First thing to do is to sift. You would add the salt into these siftings if you were using salt. With salt, butter, and a little bit of salt in the self-rising flour, there would be plenty of salt, I guess. Is that done? Now you mix in the butter, and the recipe is specific. It says not to do this in a food processor or a blender, because you'll get it too fine. So with your hands, you just gently squeeze the butter into the flour mixture, and doing it as quickly as possible because you don't want to overheat the butter. That's just about right. Don't feel any large pieces left there anyway. At this point I add the sugar and the currants. If you like currants, if you don't have to do that part. The best scones I ever had, I don't know if I've told this story or not, but was in Cumbria in the Lake District of England. I was staying in Windermere, or close to Windermere, and there's a bus, well, I call them vans, like maybe 10 passenger vans that do tours in various areas of the Lake District, adding the milk to a well here. And keep my hands out of it, getting a fork to mix it in. And I'd taken a day tour with the Mountain Goat Bus Tour Company. Lovely experience. We stopped and had a cup of tea somewhere in the morning, but in mid-afternoon we went to a farm, and the lady of the farm was prepared for us. She had just taken scones out of the oven. They were the best tasting things I ever tasted in my life. And hers had currants in them as well, but they were still warm being brought to the table. Made a wonderful end to a beautiful day in the Lake District. If you haven't been to the Lake District of England, I still think it's the most beautiful scenery I've ever seen. A little on the damp side, but we'll eliminate that by kneading it here with some flour. And I use the self-rising flour to knead it on the board. You don't want to over mix, but got to get it so it can be rolled out a little bit here. That will just about do. And I tend to do mine, well, what I would call a bit thicker than, they say an inch, mine's probably a little over an inch. Find the biscuit cutter here. I have these biscuit cutters in many different sizes, but select sort of a medium-sized one. Usually it says on them what the size is, but I guess that's been eliminated from this one after years of use. And they tell you not to twist the cutter when you're cutting these out, because that will cause them to come out a little on the wonky side. I suppose this recipe could be doubled. I've never tried doubling it, but if you want more scones than this, I guess you could double it. And I'll bring you back when I have these on the cookie tray ready to go in the oven. Well, as you can see, I got 10. The last two here kind of funny looking. Now I'm going to chill these. I don't think the recipe says that, but things rise better like this after they've been worked a bit if you chill them. So I'll put them in the refrigerator for a half hour. Well, mine were only in the refrigerator for 15 minutes. I got thinking that maybe all the baking soda in it would be reacting and you wouldn't get a rise. So 15 minutes chilled them down quite nicely. Now the recipe says of 3 different glazes or whatever that you can do on top. I have done the one with just a beaten egg, and that does give you a nice brown top and quite shiny glazed. I'm just brushing these with milk. That was one of the other suggestions, which it says will give you a brown top but softer and not so shiny. And the third one that they recommend is just dusting it with flour. I guess that would just give it a fresh out of the bakery look. I've never tried that one. Now these go in the preheated 425 degree Fahrenheit oven for 20 to 25 minutes. In my oven that's usually the 25 minutes. I think for some reason my oven usually takes longer than most recipes require. So I'll bring you back and show you what they look like when they come out of the oven. Well, it turns out 20 minutes even in my oven was just enough. And they certainly have a nice dark brown top. Now I'm trying to decide whether I like the looks of them better with the milk glaze or the egg. The egg would have been shiny and more crisp than the milk topping, but it doesn't change the flavor, I don't think, of the scones at all. Well, I hope you like this little presentation, especially those people that asked me for a scones video, and I hope you'll give it a try. Thank you very much for watching.